No one traveled as extensively on foot as he did. This is the story of an extraordinary man who journeyed across vast lands, Ibn Battuta. Before watching the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. In the 14th century, Moroccan explorer Ibn Battuta embarked on an incredible journey spanning nearly 30 years. Over the course of his travels, he covered an astonishing 75,000 miles, exploring Africa, the Middle East, India, and Southeast Asia. Marco Polo, the renowned Venetian traveler who ventured to China in the 13th century, is often celebrated as history's most famous traveler. But when it comes to sheer distance, he is surpassed by the Muslim scholar Ibn Battuta. Despite his remarkable accomplishments, Ibn Battuta remains relatively unknown outside the Islamic world. He spent half his life traversing vast regions of the Eastern Hemisphere, driven by an insatiable thirst for discovery. Traveling by sea, camel caravan, and on foot, Ibn Battuta journeyed through over 40 modern-day countries. He frequently faced great dangers, all in pursuit of his relentless wanderlust. After 29 years of exploration, he returned home and documented his extraordinary adventures in a monumental travelogue known as the Rila. While modern scholars sometimes question the accuracy of his accounts, such as whether he truly visited China or borrowed parts of his descriptions from other authors, the Rila remains a captivating window into the life of a 14th century traveler. Ibn Battuta's story is a testament to the human spirit's enduring quest for knowledge and exploration. Born in Tangier, Morocco, Ibn Battuta grew up in a family of Islamic judges. In 1325, at the age of 21, he set off from his homeland toward the Middle East. He began his journey alone on a donkey, but soon joined a pilgrim caravan making its way east through the rugged, bandit-infested terrain of North Africa. Along the way, Battuta fell so ill with a severe fever that he had to tie himself to his saddle to avoid collapsing. Despite these hardships, he still found time during one stop to marry a young woman, the first of around 10 wives he would marry and later divorce during his extensive travels. In Egypt, Battuta studied Islamic law and visited Alexandria and the vibrant city of Cairo, which he described as peerless in beauty and splendor. From there, he continued to Mecca, where he completed the Hajj. While his pilgrimage could have marked the end of his journey, Battuta felt compelled to keep exploring the Muslim world, or Dar al-Islam. He claimed to have been inspired by a dream in which a large bird carried him on its wing on a long flight to the east, leaving him there. A holy man interpreted this dream as a sign that he was destined to travel across the earth, and Battuta resolved to fulfill this prophecy. Over the next several years, Battuta's travels took him on a whirlwind tour. He joined a caravan to explore Persia and Iraq, then ventured north to modern-day Azerbaijan. After another stay in Mecca, he journeyed through Yemen and set sail for the Horn of Africa. From there, he visited the Somali city of Mogadishu and traveled further south to explore the coasts of Kenya and Tanzania, even venturing below the equator. After leaving Africa, Battuta devised a plan to travel to India, aiming to secure a prestigious position as a Qadi, or Islamic judge. His journey took a winding path eastward, beginning with a trek through Egypt and Syria before setting sail for Turkey. As in other Muslim-controlled regions, he leveraged his status as an Islamic scholar to receive hospitality from locals. Along the way, he was often lavished with gifts, including fine clothing, horses, and even concubines and slaves. From Turkey, Battuta crossed the Black Sea and entered the territory ruled by a Golden Horde Khan named Uzbeg. Welcomed at Uzbeg's court, he later joined one of the Khan's wives on a journey to Constantinople. Battuta spent a month in the Byzantine city, where he visited landmarks like the Hagia Sophia and briefly met the emperor. Having never before explored a major non-Muslim city, he was amazed by the almost innumerable Christian churches within its walls. Continuing east, Battuta crossed the Eurasian steppe and entered India via Afghanistan and the Hindu Kush. In 1334, he arrived in Delhi, and secured a position as a judge under Muhammad Tughlaq, a powerful Islamic sultan. Battuta spent several years in this comfortable role, during which he married and had children. However, he grew increasingly uneasy with the sultan's unpredictable nature, as Tughlaq was infamous for executing enemies in gruesome ways, such as using elephants equipped with swords to carry out punishments. Battuta's opportunity to leave came in 1341 when the Sultan appointed him as an envoy to the Mongol court in China. Eager for new adventures, the Moroccan set off at the head of a grand caravan filled with gifts and slaves. The journey to the Orient turned out to be the most perilous chapter of Battuta's travels. Along the way to the Indian coast, his group faced persistent harassment from Hindu rebels. At one point, Battuta was kidnapped and stripped of all his belongings, save for his pants. Despite these hardships, he managed to reach the port of Calicut. However, disaster struck on the eve of his planned ocean voyage when a storm drove his ships out to sea, sinking them and killing many in his party. These misfortunes left Battuta stranded and humiliated. Reluctant to return to Delhi and face the Sultan, he decided instead to sail south to the Maldives, an archipelago in the Indian Ocean. There, he spent the next year enjoying the island's natural bounty, feasting on coconuts, marrying several women, and serving once more as an Islamic judge. Though he might have stayed longer, a disagreement with the local rulers prompted him to resume his journey toward China. After a brief stop in Sri Lanka, he traveled aboard merchant vessels through Southeast Asia and in 1345 arrived at the thriving Chinese port of Quanzhou, 4 years after leaving India. Battuta described Mongol-ruled China as the safest and best country for the traveler, admiring its natural beauty. However, he referred to its inhabitants as pagans and infidels, unsettled by their unfamiliar customs. The devout travelers stayed primarily within the country's Muslim communities and offered only sparse descriptions of major cities like Hangzhou, which he nonetheless called the biggest city I have seen on the face of the earth. Although historians still debate the extent of his travels in China, Battuta claimed to have ventured as far north as Beijing and to have crossed the famous Grand Canal. China marked the turning point in Battuta's journey, signaling the beginning of the end of his travels. Having reached the farthest edges of the known world, he decided to return home to Morocco, arriving in Tangier in 1349. By this time, both of his parents had passed away, so he stayed only briefly before heading to Spain. Following this, he embarked on a long journey across the Sahara to the Mali Empire, where he visited the famous city of Timbuktu. Although Battuta had never kept written records during his travels, upon his return to Morocco in 1354, the Sultan instructed him to compile an account of his journeys. Over the next year, he dictated his story to a writer named Ibn Juzai. The result was an oral history titled A Gift to Those Who Contemplate the Wonders of Cities and the Marvels of Traveling, more commonly known as the Rihla, or Travels. While the book was not widely popular during his lifetime, it is now regarded as one of the most detailed and comprehensive accounts of the 14th century Islamic world. After completing the Rihla, Ibn Battuta essentially disappeared from the historical record. It is believed that he worked as a judge in Morocco and passed away around 1368, but little else is known about his later life. After a lifetime of wandering, it seems that the great traveler finally found peace in staying in one place.